if one looks at those photographs and looks at the archive, if one looks at the statements, but also the visual representations of what was occurring in these various contexts, but especially in this case Abu Ghraib, one has to confront again and again and again the discourse that says the rationale and the purpose for this warfare is the acquisition of, the generation of, the provocation of consent. I say to be violated. Why do I say to be violated? Why not simply say a consent to join the U.S. in the forms of political organization that it deems to be most desirable? Why not simply say that the purpose, the rationale, and the desired outcome of this war is the transformation of Iraq into something that resembles us? Why not just say that the form of that consent will be participation in elections in which people choose, as we choose, to be like us? I could say that. I'm pushing this other dimension because, frankly, the images of Abu Ghraib beg us to ask, what else is going on beyond the demand that a polity transform itself in order to become something that resembles ours? Because those photographs do, in the way that photographs can, bear the inimitable mark of something in excess of that ideological explanation. They bear the mark of jouissance, of pleasure, of interest, of excitement, and they bear the mark of a theater in which those who are detained are said to have been detained because they are criminal, and in being criminal they exercise their freedom in a way that allows them to be detained. Those people who, having been detained, are asked not only to submit to violence, but to perpetrate it, to become, we could say, like us. Not just the aberrant, crazy night shift, but a rather significant percentage of the people undertaking the functions of detention in Iraq. Now, I know these are perhaps outrageous, perhaps seemingly indefensible positions. I don't have images here, and I suspect I don't need them. I'm sure that everyone here knows the images from Abu Ghraib. They're imprinted, seared into our memory. And they have already migrated and transformed themselves in 1,000 aesthetic projects that want to recuperate that shock for a political project of opposition to this regime. Whether one goes with my reading or not, what I think the questions I would like to bring to the ongoing discussion of this group that is going to pursue the archive as a theoretical, material, historical institution and practice, is the degree to which the archive is both the trace of a violence, sometimes the only trace of a violence we have, ordered, sedimented, organized according to the dictates of whatever regime is in power at the time, but also that it is that which we can mobilize against the very structures of power that produce it. We're probably all fairly skeptical at this moment in time of any kind of naively positivist claim that we can extract from the photograph any truth that is unassailable. Hence, I would insist that we read those photographs alongside the statements, the visible alongside the statement, in order to grasp the possibilities that something other than an aberration occurred, something to which we might also want to hold ourselves accountable. I'll stop there and let us share some of these questions in discussion, and encourage you all, if you haven't already done so, to visit the website of the Department of Defense, where you will find a shocking number of documents in which one finds a shocking number of events that have passed by utterly unnoticed, and still to be sutured into a narrative that would allow us to act. I think of one particular instance that I'll leave you with, in which a detainee was shot in a scuffle and hospitalized. And there's a record in the DOT, unattached to any further record, there's a record in the DOT archive that indicates the person was hospitalized and surgery was performed and was catheterized. And upon returning to, prematurely one could say, to Abu Ghraib, had the catheter removed, sans anesthetic, and was left without that service, that function that was absolutely necessary, clearly. There's a later record in the Department of Defense archive of a man with a bullet wound in the bladder who had apparently been catheterized, who suffered septicemia, and who died. I'm convinced that someone who is a lawyer could use that archive to trace back a narrative that has its ground in truth and that could be used in ways that would be productive perhaps for his family, I'm not sure. But in any case, the archive is the trace of a violence that we have to read against itself.